Alright, hello everybody. Need to try to keep an eye on the YouTube chat for just a minute. I don't know if it's gonna actually update, because I had to refresh the page in order to see the go live button. Looks like we are live on YouTube and Twitch. A bunch of other of these places from Restream. So let me just shuffle a few more of these around. Oh, there's a new chat. Let's see. Oh yeah, that seems to be showing up. Awesome. All right. I think I actually need this one to run. I feel like I could, well, I don't want to mess with it. Tempted to pause it, but I don't know if that's just a preview or it's going to do something else. Let's not mess with it for now. All right, let's do some hellos for the folks that are here. Blitz City DIY Liz, happy Friday indeed. C. Grover, let's see, Tammy Mix Things and Gary Z. Hello to all of you. And then over on YouTube, so far we got Dave Odessa, Retta Gaff, and Paul Schulenek. So hello to everyone. And hello to all of those folks, as well as everyone else who might be watching. And we have my screen up, right? Is that right? Yeah, we're on CircuitPython.org. So, quick introduction for folks that might be new. My name is Tim, and I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord and several other places. We are doing the deep dive stream. We're working on CircuitPython related stuff. Formerly, at this time, it was Scott Shawcroft, the lead developer of CircuitPython, working on generally core-related things, and I'm kind of filling in while Scott's away, but I do tend to work a little bit higher level, more in Python land than C land, but we do dive in sometimes to the core as well. But if you are confused by any of that, if you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, a quick high-level introduction. We are working on CircuitPython, which is an implementation of Python that runs on very, very small computers and cheap, very, very small and cheap computers called microcontrollers. There's a bunch of them listed out on this page here. You can see there's all different various shapes and sizes, quite literally, you know, circles and rectangles and tinier square looking things and all kinds of different shapes and sizes. And we are writing Python code that runs on these devices and is able to interact with other hardware. So lots of these devices have what are called I/O pins, input-output pins. You can connect sensors and LEDs and speakers and buzzers and buttons and all kinds of other electronical widgets to these devices, and then you can interact with that stuff from your Python code. If you want to learn more, you can go to CircuitPython.org. This is a good place to get started. Also, you can join us in the Discord, which is the chat that is showing down below me. That's the Adafruit Discord. If you want to join that, you can go to adafru.it/discord. If you want to get involved in the project at CircuitPython.org, there is a contributing link, and then of course it's all open source, and lots of us do gather and coordinate through the Discord, so you can join us there as well if you want to get involved. If you're interested in supporting the project, but not necessarily getting involved in the development, one of the ways you can do that is by purchasing hardware from Adafruit. This is their website, adafruit.com. Adafruit is a hardware and software company based out of New York, and they are the primary financial backer of the CircuitPython project. So they're paying the team who works on the project full-time, I should say. They're also paying some folks like me who work on the project part-time. They're paying all of us to do all of this work on CircuitPython. And of course, they're constantly releasing new CircuitPython devices and new hardware that you can hook up to CircuitPython devices as well. So definitely all of us that work on the project would appreciate it if you do purchase hardware from there, if you have something that you want to purchase. So with the intro out of the way, let's catch up. Did I miss anybody in the chat here? Let's see, it's pronounced similar to the car Miata. Oh, Biata graph. Okay, Biata. I will try to remember that. I definitely did do that wrong before. Biotograph. That's a good way to explain it, though. I think your analogy will probably help me remember that. Gary Z, good afternoon. Definitely yes, Tammy. Happy Friday. All right, so that's the high level look at what we're doing. Jumping in a little bit more specifically, what am I going to work on today? I think, did I set the titles? Let me double check that actually. Set the titles today? Yeah, okay, writing a SpriteButton class. So specifically what I'm working on today is in the display IO realm. I have this device pulled up, which is very fuzzy. Let's fix the focus real fast. Then like this maybe, much better. You can pull this over here as well. So the microcontroller that I am working on, this one is called a PyPortal Titano, and it has a nice big color touch display built onto it. Let me turn the light on as well, because this does wash out the colors pretty bad. Hello from Arkansas, ShuttlePod. How's it going? Please get down, buddy. Okay, yeah. One of the new fun things my cat is doing is climbing the window. I will try not to get too distracted. Let me get the light before I go much further. LEDs. That's really not a whole lot better, is it? Maybe if we get it angled up there a bit. I may switch over to the smaller PyPortal. Anyway, though, this one has a nice big built-in touch overlay. And we are writing code that allows us to make stuff on this display. Specifically, what I want to do today is make a new type of button. We have an existing type of button, but it's only really able to draw colored buttons. Like you can, buddy, please stop. Yeah, this is a thing. I'll be right back. All right, apologies. I'm gonna just hope that he's not gonna do that anymore, but truth is he probably is. The cat's name is, the cat's full name is Tabitha Jane. We named him actually before we realized what gender he was. This was a cat that hung out around outside of our house for a little bit, and we took him in, and we named him before we went to the vet with him the first time. So we named him Tabitha Jane because he's a tabby cat. So we liked Tabitha for Tabby. And then we eventually found out that he was a boy cat, but we just kept the name Tabitha because it seems like a cool name. And he's a cool cat, and I think he likes the name Tabitha, so that's his full name. Oftentimes I will call him Buddy or Stripey Dude or Stripey Cat or, you know, anything with Stripey in it, really. Yeah, that's the cat's name. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, drop the brightness. That probably would definitely help help it come through better on the camera. Yeah, good idea. Thanks, C. Grover. So yeah, this one has a built-in display. That's the kind of stuff that I tend to work on quite a bit on streams, is stuff related to display. It's not exclusively. I do branch into other stuff sometimes as well. But this is kind of the area that I'm sort of naturally drawn to. So this tends to be where I end up working on stuff a fair amount of the time. And specifically what I'm going to work on today is a new button class that will allow us to make custom buttons that use bitmap sprites instead of just colors and shapes. So let's take a quick look at what exists today. We have this library called SpriteButton, which exists already. And this one is capable of making basic buttons and shapes. They can be rectangular, they can have rounded corners. I think maybe there's a couple other types, but they are just a basic rectangle generally, and they're solid colors. So it can have like a fill color and it can have an outline color. Do I still have the button simple test loaded up here? If I do, I'll run it. If not, I'm not gonna I'm not going to bother because it does... it was made for not the PyPortal Titano, and I had to do some things to update it. Should have saved that. It looks like I didn't. SpriteButton. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like I didn't save that. Oh, button simple test. There it is. Did save it. Okay. Hold on. Why is this not in the history? Simple test. These are the basic buttons. So you can see there's a couple of different varieties. There's the rounded rect and the square corners, and then there's ones with a little bit of a shadow looking thing going on to the bottom right there. And then you can see this top right one here is green with a, looks like a pink outline in person. It looks like it's coming through more yellow on the camera, but it is a, I think it's a pink one. We could tweak the brightness. That probably would help, like Seagrover mentioned. Also, though, we're not spending too much time on this one specifically. Let's see, where's the display? Board.display only. Okay, so we could go like board.display brightness equals 0.5. See what that does for us. Oh, but it's not in CodePy, so we would have to rerun it. A little bit better. Looks like we still could do slightly better on focus. Okay, we could do a lot better on focus, actually, not slightly. Hello from Houston, Texas. Chase Gordon, how's it going? 1.1 or 0.2 on the Titano. So these are the regular buttons. These are pretty cool. You know, these give you the ability, and these are touch interactive buttons. So like I can touch the screen and these buttons can react to it. They can change colors to indicate that they're being pressed. They can also control other stuff. So like you can have it set up where you press a button and then something happens, you know, just like a regular push button. But I thought it would be cool if we had a way to do fully custom ones. Again, these ones are kind of limited to just solid colors. You can pick whatever colors you want for the fill and the outline. Maybe possibly you can pick a color for the shadow. That part I'm not actually sure about, so don't quote me. You can look into the library if you're interested in that. But that's pretty much the only sort of different visuals that you can get are just solid colors. And so what I want is a way to do fully customized buttons where you can supply your own bitmap, which can have gradients or 3D effects, you know, buttons that look like they pop out from the screen a little bit, or you know, look like they pop into the screen some when you press on them. I want to be able to have those types of buttons that look a little bit fancier than these. So I've been working on a couple of different pieces of infrastructure to allow this to work. And today is the day I think that I'm going to go ahead and write the class for it. Before I do just jump straight into the class for that, though, I want to make a PR on the image load library, image load, because part of the code that I'm going to use for this button sprite class is what I've called a tile grid inflator. And I haven't made a PR with that anywhere yet. So right now, like, I'm the only one who really has the library, or possibly I pushed it into GitHub. I don't remember for sure if I even did push it into GitHub. So it's not really shared anywhere. And of course, if we want to make a class that lots of people are going to be able to use, then, you know, we're going to have that tile grid inflator published somewhere. And I think that this CircuitPython image load library is a good place to do that. So I am going to go open up that, and then we'll push, we'll make a new branch, and we'll push in our tile grid inflator, and then make a PR from it, and then from there, I'll go and start working on the SpriteButton class, and I'll use that inflator from the modified image load. All right, so let me actually do a different one of these so that open will start in a better spot. Open. That's much better. So we're gonna go image load. Yeah, we don't need this one. Badge testing, we can get rid of that. So first of all, what did I change here? I don't know why I would have done that. We're gonna roll that back. And then update main. And then make a new branch. -B. New branch is gonna be called tilegrid inflator. I need to look up how to spell inflator. I'm like 50-50. Sometimes I spell it ER, sometimes I spell it OR. Later. Inflator. Okay, this is like a proper noun though, right? They made a thing called this. Maybe we should go dictionary. Dictionary. Inflator. Plate. Plated. Plating. Maybe inflator is not a real word. It's back to inflator. Plate. Inflator? Wordless inflator. Okay, looks like OR. So let's go OR. Tilegrid inflator. I'll make sure I called it that in the actual code as well. New branch, tilegrid inflator, from Adafruit main, no track. I'm gonna check if I have a remote. I do, foamy guy. Okay. So we'll use that here when we push. And I think load. I think what we do is just make a new file for it. So the thing is, it's not necessarily tied to any of the rest of the files in this library. You can use some of the other stuff from this library with the inflator, but you can also use the inflator with on-disk bitmaps we found while I was working on it. So technically you don't need to actually use the image load library to use it, although you will some of the time probably be using the image load library because that's one of the two ways to load bitmaps. And so I think a new file in here makes the most sense. And so I'm going to grab tilegrid inflator from my device. I probably put inside lib. Yep. And I did name it inflator with an O there. Let's see if I have any inflator. No. Okay, good. One thing is we may need to, don't know if it'll pass pre-commit as is. And realistically, I should probably also add type information to it. Although I don't know that any of the rest of this library is done yet. Yeah, it doesn't look like any of the rest of this library has type information yet. But it does need a header comment thing, this stuff. All of this stuff. Whoop. Import image load. Right, so I did make it so that it can support either. Do we actually need this? Do we use image load inside of here? Yeah. Okay. Right. If we gave it a path instead of an object, then we do image load it. Okay. Makes sense. So let's fix the name. Okay, so we're gonna go dot tilegrid inflator. Whoop, dot tilegrid inflator. And this basically, for folks that haven't watched the stream before, I've been working on some of this stuff on the last couple of streams. So if you have watched before, you probably have seen me do some of this stuff. If you haven't yet, then you might be lost, or you might be asking, like, what is this tilegrid inflator thing? And I'll show you real fast. It's basically a helper library, display IO. It's basically a helper library that does the stuff that is talked about on this page. So we're starting with a sprite sheet that is basically 3x3, like this one here. This one, we're kind of ignoring the characters in the top row. We're just looking at these walls here. This represents a 3x3 sprite sheet. So there's, 3 tiles wide, 3 tiles down, 3x3, like tic-tac-toe or whatever. You see, these are how it's broken out. And what the inflator does is it takes a sprite sheet like this, and it inflates it. It blows it up into a bigger grid like this, where the center rows and columns get repeated as many times as they need to be in order to make a target size. So that's what the inflator code does, is take a 3x3 sprite sheet and then blow it up into a bigger grid for us. So that's what this particular thing does. So let's fill that in here as a comment. Let's see here. We can fix some of this too. Let's see. Use a 3x3 sprite sheet to inflate a larger grid of tiles, duplicating the center rows and columns as many times as needed to reach a target size. Okay, repo is the same, version thing is the same. I don't think we need this, but I'm not sure. We can change this. I wrote it this year. Whoa, I wrote it this year. We don't really need print bitmap. This was something I used for testing. I don't know that we ended up using this either. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. So I'll save off a separate copy of this with these things included. In fact, I should have another copy here. And before I change too much, what I'll do is I'll just save a separate copy. If I do ever figure out a reason why we need that stuff, then I'll be able to still grab it. I think, though, it's just different things that I started trying to do. And like this one was for troubleshooting. I was printing the bitmaps to see what they were coming out as. And I don't think we actually need them. Okay. Yeah, that's much better. Inflate tile grid. So that's our only function. Let's run pre-commit. So the thing is there, I changed the file, but I didn't save it. and then I ran pre-commit, which also changed the file, and so I had 2 unsaved sets of changes. The IDE doesn't know what to do. Okay. Tile grid of target size in tiles from a 3x3 sprite sheet by duplicating center rows and columns. I don't remember all of the right syntax for this stuff. Okay. Type param type name. So BMP path is going to be a string BMP path. Let's see, file path to the 3x3 sprite sheet bitmap file. Param bloop 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 bloop. Target size is a tuple. Desired size in tiles. Target width, target height. Tile size. Tile size can be a tuple, or you can leave it none. In the 3x3 sprite sheet. If none is used, it will equally divide the width and height of the bitmap by 3. Transparent index. Okay, so this one's actually weird. It's either a list or a number. I think, do you do that union list? It'd be a tuple actually instead of a list. Tuple number int target. No, what is it? Transparent index. This is a single index within the palette to make transparent, or a tuple of multiple indexes to make transparent. Next, BMP object. So if you want to use onDiskBitmap, then you'll use BMP object and BMP palette instead of BMP path. If you want to use image load, then you supply BMP path, just a string pointing to your file. OnDiskBitmap, you create the file yourself using the OnDiskBitmap initializer, and then you can pass it for these two things instead. So this one is a OnDiskBitmap BMP object. It probably would work with an actual bitmap instead of an OnDiskBitmap as well, but if you want to use a bitmap and not an OnDisk, then you should just use path. I think so. We'll type it as OnDisk because that's kind of the intention. OnDiskBitmap bitmap object. So this is already loaded 3x3 sprite sheet in an on disk bitmap. This one is a palette, BMP palette, already loaded sprite sheet palette. Okay. So that should do our first pilot problem. Too many arguments. I think we're going to pilot ignore that. All of the arguments have a pretty specific purpose. Yeah. I guess one thing we could do is instead of these two, I guess we could get rid of these two and we could have a different argument that's like true or false, I suppose, for use on disk. And if you set it to true, then it will be on disk. If you set it to false, it will be image load. I don't know. I like the versatility that this offers, being able to pass in your bitmap object and your palette separately, rather than only doing your path. Because if you want to manipulate them further, like before you put them into here, then you'll be able to do that this way. So I kind of like keeping them. So I think I'm going to keep them and just do a pilot disable on here, which I don't know the syntax for, but we saw one earlier. I think I can put it here, maybe after this. Too many arguments. I'm off by one. Also local variables too, huh? I'll take a look. I think we need all the variables though. Image palette, we definitely need both of those. Tile width, tile height. I guess we could put those in a tuple and get by with just one. I kind of think the code is more clear with them separated though, right? Because then you can read it and see tile width, tile height, rather than just knowing that 0 index is width and 1 index is height, right? Like that's extra stuff you have to process. Which is how we accept the argument anyway, so I suppose maybe could keep it the same. Target width and height. I don't know. I like the code better with it this way, truthfully. Tile grid. We definitely need a tile grid because that's what we're making. We really have 15 variables here? Is it counting arguments? It must be counting arguments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only see 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't know how it's counting. That's weird. Even including arguments, I only get 13. It's a variable? I don't know. I don't think so. Comment this. Save it. Go down one. No. Okay. It's definitely not a variable. Weird. I don't know where the other 3 are. I think we just gotta ignore that too, though. Too many. What was it? Variables? Locals. Locals. Use isInstance. Okay. Unidiomatic. How's it unidiomatic? If is instance transparent index, no, type is first, tuple transparent index. Is that right? No. Object, class or tuple. Okay. I think that's how it is. Is instance, whoa. Yep. This int. Okay, delete this stuff. What's next? Too many branches. We're probably going to be ignoring that one too. Am I off by one again? I am. Look at that. I was off by one arguments, off by one variables, off by one branches. Yeah, I mean, maybe we can get rid of one or both of these else's, because we could do something first and then if something is true, overwrite what we did before. Honestly, I think the code is more clear this way, because our intention is not to do one thing and then change it afterwards. Our intention is to do either this or this, and if else makes that clear. So while I could possibly get rid of one or both of those, I think in my mind the code is not as clear if I do that, and I'm gonna pretty much choose clear code over following Pylint any day of the week personally. Too many branches. Randall Bone Boxcar. Save that. Love the factory. Hello from Colorado. How's it going? Love the factory. Third-party import display IO. So that one's easy. Just take that, put it up there. Just want 2 spaces. Yeah. Got it this time? I think, right? There we go. Yeah. Okay. That seems like a good first draft, at least, for pushing this branch and making a PR, and then like I can get feedback from people on the PR, of course. Let's go cd docs, cp docs, make sure the docs build, because that will also fail the actions check if the docs aren't going to build. Also, I guess we probably want to add to this, right? I always forget to do this, actually, which it looks like there's a bunch of these not added. Tile grid inflator. Risky business angering the Pylint. Yeah. How's it going, Summersoft? It's nice to see you. API. Okay. Yeah. Pylint. Pylint's probably gonna try to kill me in my sleep one of these days. I'm sure. If it can figure out a way. Let's run that. I think we. Ooh, we do have an error now. Okay, unexpected indent. These ones are sometimes trickier to track down. It says line 7, field list ends without a blank line. Probably this, maybe is the problem. Nope. Field list ends without a blank line. I see you too. Notice you've been doing some deep dives. Yeah, yep. Scott's away for parent leave, and I filled in a bit. Field list ends without a blank line. Unexpected indent. Maybe it's this? No. Maybe it's... Oh. Maybe it does not want the blank line, actually. Maybe it needs to be back here. Nope. Same problem. Okay, so next thing I'm going to try to do is try to find line 7. The problem is this is not line 7 in the file, right? Line 7 in the file is back up here. But that's not where this is counting from. I think it's from here, but I'm not sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. The problem is this one that's 2 lines, actually. That's the problem. I have seen this before. Maybe the second line needs to be spaced in. And probably this one too. Yeah. GitHub Copilot might enter the chat. Yeah. Maybe is it 2 spaces? The last one looked like 2 spaces, maybe. Oh, hey, we got... Oh, I did Control S. What does Control S do in a terminal? I find that sometimes I focus my terminal, but then I press Control S because I'm meaning to save my file, and then I can't type anymore. I assume it's just waiting for me to do something, because that's probably some other kind of special input. There we go. Okay, yeah, 2 spaces. Does this one matter? I do like this on the next line better, but it's not really that big of a deal either way. No, okay, that one builds too. So let's take a look at these also before we push. Oops, not terminal. Files. Index. Oh. Did I break that? I don't think I broke that. I know they're in the middle of changing the badge. Maybe it's like part way. Or maybe it doesn't work locally. What does this look like on the live docs? It looks fine there. Oh, we don't want to go to Discord though. We want to go to docs. Oh. You know, I have a hunch actually. I have a hunch. This is a bit of a rabbit hole. One thing you'll find if you watch the deep dives and my other streams. Oh, Control S suspends the terminal output. Control Q resumes it. Thank you. Yeah, Unix-like. That's probably what is going on for me. I am on Linux. It's Pop OS, but I think it's based on Ubuntu, which I think itself is based on Debian. So we're probably in something like that. Control Q. I think I should be able to remember that. Control Q the next time that happens. So I had a hunch the other day that when you load this, you know how it doesn't take you directly to the badge. It takes you to the GitHub page about the badge. But raw like this takes you directly to the badge, and it's a different URL. And my hunch is that if we put this here, that it would let us view it on... Whoa. Excuse me? Okay. Guess we closed our terminal with the docs build going. Oh, it still doesn't. Is it like failing to load? I don't think I ever finished my thought, but what I was going to say is if you have watched the deep dive or my streams before, one thing you'll know is that I'm willing to chase a rabbit hole a little bit. So yeah, we are getting back this whole page, not just the SVG. Weirdly, we don't see the preview in this thing, but that might just be something to do with the debugger or whatever we're in here. All right, well, I don't know. Oh, I'm looking at the live page. Refresh. Ah, there we go. Okay. Yeah. Yep, thank you. Thank you, Summersoft. This is the beauty of streaming. It's like an extra HiveMind pair programmer. It's one of the coolest things, honestly. Gotta go. Cheers, Tim. Dave Odessa. Yeah, no worries. See you, Dave. Thanks for tuning in while you could. Somewhat outdated ANSI standard. To be fair, Copilot is an interesting piece of software. Natural evolution of Stack Overflow. I maybe should give Copilot a try. Is it like I heard of a thing called Tab 9? Tab 9, is that what it's called? I heard of a thing called Tab 9, which is like code completion. Is Copilot like this, where you can press tab and it tries to guess? Because I will admit, like, I am a big tab completion IntelliSense abuser. Like, if I can type 2 or 3 letters and, like, it will know the rest of it, I will let it do the rest of it every time. I will pretty much always let it guess. And if it's going to be right most of the time, then I'm happy with that. I should maybe look into Copilot. So I won't go too much further down this rabbit hole, but what I will do is tell Kattni, because I know this is something that Kattni has been working on in the last couple of days. Oh, can I reopen? Reopen? Reopen. Is that how Copilot works, though? It's like a plugin with tabs? Or is it more involved than that? Whoop. Well, that's fine anyway. So I guess GitHub knows. That's the difference here, is GitHub is smart enough to grab the actual root SVG file when it requests that page, but it's like it's doing that on its own behalf, and read the docs doesn't know to do that. I just noticed that while the new Discord badge does appear correctly on GitHub, unfortunately it doesn't load correct on RTD. I think we don't really need these, I guess. I think one way to fix it is use this URL for the SVG instead. I think that probably deserves a frowny emoji, right? Because I think they just ran today the script to change all of those. So unfortunately, I think we'll have to script it all again. Which is not the end of the world, but bit of a bummer. Slight frowny. Similar, yes. From what I've seen, it's still in closed beta. Oh, okay. Can't even sign up for it necessarily. Well, maybe. I don't know. Probably depends if you're like, there's an application or whatever. I have enough GitHub activity these days. They should let me sign up for it. Okay. We did get a successful build. We don't want to push this into our thing, though. This is going to be a separate fix. So I'm going to roll back this. Yep. I'm going to look at what I was actually looking at, which was on our local one, did the new part work? Yep. Nice. Yeah, that's a bit of a bummer. See what she says. So docs are good. We passed PR. I mean pre-commit. Yeah. Let's push this. So our two changes are new file this and change in API to add this. Whoa. Adding tile grid later. We should probably also have an example for it, truthfully. I think what I'll do is I'll make the PR and like just make it draft or something. Because I do want to go work on the button class, but I wanted to like at least give this a home somewhere to start at least, so that when I write the button class, I can reference it from where it's hopefully going to end up. Okay. Foamy guy, tile grid, inflator. That's right. Push it. Let's see. Yeah. Adabot. Yeah. They still do the patches with Adabot. Now got an absurd mental image of Adabot piloting GitHub Copilot and Siri in a bar having drinks. Yeah. That'd be fun. We need a TV show. Right? Netflix is hurting, right? Maybe they can make that their new special. So let's go image load. PR. Can I do draft from here? Draft? Doesn't seem like it. Or is it a label or something? No. Projects, milestones, assignees, reviewers, development. Huh. Ah, there we go. Okay. Let's see here. New helper function. It's not a class, it's actually a function. New helper function for inflating tile grids. Essentially, helper code for what is shown on this learn guide page. You can link the learn guide page. Nope. All right. And anybody watching, if you want to help get involved in CircuitPython, you are more than welcome to leave a review on this. If you want to try it out and leave a review, that'd be awesome. That's generally, this is kind of the first way that we start getting folks involved, is by having them try out pull requests and leave reviews. You can just leave it as a comment for now, and then if you get in the habit of doing that, then eventually we can add you to the CircuitPython librarians team, where you can actually do like approve and request changes and stuff like that. So let's go draft. In walks Pilot, who starts picking on the others. Yeah. All right, so we made it a draft. Okay. So now let's go and do our new button. And I think this one probably should just go, inside button, but right now display button is a single file. And unfortunately, if we add a new thing to it, either we have to add it to the same file, which is not great because then it gets imported even if you're not going to use it, or we have to add it to a new file, which means we have to convert the library from a single file to a package. It means that a bunch of places where it gets used has to change, basically. Or the other option is we make a new library. Feels like it should go in this one to me, though, honestly. Do we have more than one in here? Button. Nope, just the one. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So I'll go to main. Okay, let's take a look at what we got here. What do we have for remotes? We do have Adafruit. Git fetch Adafruit. Git remote rename origin. Foamy guy? Yeah. We have main now. There we go. Check out main. I'm responsible for approving all pull requests from the interns at my new job. Got a healthy respect for that approve and merge, but yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, it depends on what you're working on. The good thing about it is, like, depending on how many users your thing has, if you approve and merge, like the worst case scenario, if there's a bug, like, you know, it can get fixed relatively quick and a new merge can happen afterwards. It's always best not to release something that's broken, but at the end of the day, like with CircuitPython at least, like the whole historical release versions are all available. It's not like anybody is going to be permanently stuck because of a bug in a merge. So I will say it was something when I first started joining the review team, though, I was like extra super paranoid about actually merging things. That would be good, simply to be sure. I'll have Eva do it. Should run the pot patch on the script locally. Adabot couldn't handle it. Oh no. But only when she has time again. Might have to deal with this for a bit. Yeah, it's not that bad, honestly, to be only on read the docs. I will make that change in the test repo real fast. Do we have the test repo on this computer? Test repo. Main. Let's fix our remotes here too. Ah. Oh, that didn't work. The remote add Adafruit. There we go. Okay, let me go Let me pull Adafruit main. And go git checkout new branch Discord, whoa, badge RTD Adafruit main, no track. Feel bad. I should have thought to try this on Read the Docs, honestly. I literally did test this yesterday. In fact, talking about the merging thing that we were just talking about, I literally did test this, and I was the one that merged it yesterday. And I just did not think to test it on Read the Docs. It makes sense why it would be different. Like, GitHub knows their own URLs, and they could switch it around to the raw file. It does make sense in hindsight why it works that way. I just did not think to test it, though. Had a merge at work today that got weird because my awesome branch and my awesome branch lowercase are different branches to Git, but not to Windows. Oh, that's fun. When the intern did a pull in her local repo, Git got super confused about which origin ref or branch was merging to. One of the reasons my work computer is a Mac. Yeah, that sounds like a minor nightmare to me, truthfully. I've gotten a lot better at Git since I started working on CircuitPython stuff, especially. I used Git a little tiny bit before that, but like not like to a very minor extent, like in projects that had like anywhere from 2 to 5-ish branches, and that was it. Like, we were not making a new branch for every feature, like nothing like that. We had like a dev branch and a production branch, and like maybe 1 or 2 more. That was kind of the most experience I had with Git until getting into CircuitPython, and I've gotten a lot better at it. I've gotten my head wrapped around it a lot more, but I'm still, I would say, fairly novice. And the thing is, I use PyCharm as a crutch kind of a lot. Like, PyCharm has really, really good interactive visual Git interfaces, and I rely on those a lot to be able to get stuff done. I do some things in the terminal like this stuff, but when it comes to like pushing, I'm always using the GUI inside PyCharm, and I'm like, that's the only way I feel comfortable. We need to do anything else? I don't think so. Just this change. I don't know if this even has pre-commit. Oh yeah, it does. I mean, it makes sense, right? This is test library. It should have everything. Okay, let's push this. Push this. See, like this, I'm always checking the differences right here, doing my commits this way. Choosing my remote and my branch here. Double checking my commit to make sure it only touches one thing. Well, in this case, only touches one thing because that's my intention. But obviously, if I'm changing 2 files, then we'll check for 2. Okay, push that. PR that real fast too. All right. So this did pass checks, which is nice. I end up opening button. Yeah, here we go. Button. So let's see here. Got both of those. We're on Adafruit main. Update. Gotten a lot better too, but I always describe Git as like a Swiss Army chainsaw. Very capable, very powerful, but also very easy to hurt yourself. Yeah, if you're not mindful about what you're doing, that's definitely true. Definitely true. Yeah, I think it's more work, but I think I like the idea of just changing this to a package now. This would be here. And then I guess what we would do is go init. Move this inside of init. Yeah, I think so. That way this one will still be called Adafruit button when you import it. Maybe we won't have to change the imports if we do it this way. I'm not actually sure though. Do that, we delete that. I should make a branch, git checkout, new branch. Let's see. Sprite button. Main, no track. Can you tab that? You can. Look at that. Okay. New branch, sprite button. Okay. Okay. Docs. We'll need to build a docs. Maybe it should be button and not init. Yeah, I think I actually lean towards that. I mean, I would, if I were making it right now today, I would call it shape button because it makes buttons out of shapes. But I don't think we should change it because there's already a bunch of code that uses it and a bunch of people who know how to use it and know what name it is. So like if I were doing it from the ground up, I would probably call it shape button, especially if I'm about to add a sprite button or a bitmap button type thing. But it's not worth necessarily changing it when it's already been created button. And then so init would actually just be empty, I think. And then we would make new sprite button add, and this is our new one. I'll leave some room. Okay, so one thing we should do is take this version of image load, put it on my device. This way we can write code that's using it. We can, I think, delete this, or let's just rename it in case we want to go back to it. This way I can kind of cheat and like use it again later without reinstall. I guess I could always just reinstall with Circuit. I forget, Circuit makes it super easy to just install a thing again. So that's actually honestly probably just easier. I should delete it, but. So I'm actually going to do most of the development on the device rather than in the repo, and then we'll go back to the repo afterwards. One thing I'll do is fix the simple test because I don't think that'll work anymore. Yeah. So, you know, one thing I'm curious about, another slight rabbit hole, if we did something like, If we did something like that, would this code work? No. All right. I was thinking if there was a way we could avoid having to change. Oh wait, did I do that wrong? Maybe I did that wrong. I almost want to go change this. I think, yeah, we're actually just going to do that. Let's change this to CodePy. Oh, it worked. Ooh, okay. But do we still... So now the other thing I wonder is print hello from init. I'll be right back. I gotta close this window. It's heating up in here. I opened the window to try to pacify the cat. He's sleeping now. Hopefully he won't wake up if I close the window, but it's making me hot. It was like 70 or 80 degrees today. It's actually quite warm today. So does this print... So this print does run like this for sure. Yeah. But if our code was from AdafruitButton dot SpriteButton import SpriteButton, does it get executed in that case? Class SpriteButton. Unresolved reference? Oh. Does. So the question is basically, is it worth making everyone who wants to use the Sprite button have extra RAM that gets taken up for the upside of everybody who's using the shape button, the original one, not having to change their code at all? That's basically the trade-off. We can either make it to where they're just totally separate. You have to import the one you want, and therefore you don't ever import the one you're not using, which will save RAM. Or we can do it this way, which will make it so that none of the existing code has to change, but people who are going to use the Sprite button are actually going to end up with the shape button getting imported also. See what this says. I normally close this chat, but it was this one other person that I work with at my other job that's not Adafruit. is my only partner developer is leaving to go work somewhere else, which is really cool and really exciting. Kind of a bummer a little bit for me, but also really cool and really exciting. And so I left the chat open today because I figured she might say goodbye when she was done. Actually, Eva couldn't make Adabot work. Updating the link to begin with. I don't know enough about Adabot to know why. Apparently, it didn't work. It might. I don't know if Katney might not actually be watching. It's one thing to try though is using GH. Well, using Git submodule for each. I've actually had good luck automating stuff, not patches in the same way that Adabot does, but changing stuff. I'll just say unscientifically stuff. Changing stuff across all the libraries using scripts, like a Python script with Git submodule for each inside the bundle, and then I can have it like execute a Python script against every library, and then in that Python script I can have it like open a file, change something, save the file. And then if we want to, we can also have it do GH like command line stuff to have it like make PRs or do pushes or do stuff like that. So maybe I'll give that a try. I think I'm okay with it taking up a little bit of extra memory. I don't know how much the extra. Eventually, we should probably measure it, and maybe someday, you know, we get rid of this sort of training wheels thing. Maybe we go and change all the code in the learn guides and the examples ahead of time, but before it's necessary, and then, you know, go and actually make the breaking change that would cause the imports to have to differ. In the meantime, I think I'm okay. I don't think it's not that much memory, I suspect, and I think it's worth it to not break the existing imports. It's because the Git patch is not matching the full URL, so the diff doesn't match, meaning Git believes the patch doesn't apply. Git patch not matching the full URL. Yeah, I think that's where I land. I'm okay with a little bit of extra RAM to keep the existing imports from breaking. And so, honestly, this is going to be a lot like Button. It's going to have some of the same stuff. It's going to have an XY. It's going to have a width height. Name. I guess that must be the... I was going to say, I guess that must be the text that's showing, but what does name do? Name? Oh my. That's usually done way faster than that. Set it to name. Doesn't do anything. Huh. Okay. Another slight rabbit hole. I'm not going to go too far into this one. Oop. This is one of the few libraries. I search for it and I end up on Lady Ada instead of Adafruit. So that's neither here nor there, but I do think we can get rid of it. So I'll start with these. XY. This is not going to be in pixels, though. This is going to be in tiles, which is weird. Or I guess the other option is we can have it in pixels, but then we need, like... We need a matching algorithm, basically. Like, we're not always going to be able to hit the exact size in pixels. That's one drawback of the tile grid inflator, is that it can target only sizes based on tiles. So if your sprite sheet is, let's say, 96 by 96, that means that your tiles are 32 by 32, because remember, it's 3 by 3. So your target size has to be a multiple of 32. You can't, with tile grid in the core, you can't make, like, you can't have tile sizes that are 32 by 32 and then, you know, make a thing that's like 50 by 50, because 50 doesn't divide evenly by 32. I think let's start by just saying in tiles. Maybe later on we could go back to using pixels, and then we could have the user have one more argument that's like a matching type or something that will say, like, you basically decide whether we go to the largest size that's below the target they give, or the smallest size that's above the target they give. We'll have to choose one of those two. I think for now, though, I'll just do tiles. That'll get us enough to actually hopefully write this out and test it today. So XY, width, height, what else do we need? Let's go back to button. Let's actually do this number here. So we're not going to be having name, we're not going to be having style, we're not going to be having fill color, outline color. Label we can still do. All of these. I don't know why those don't indent right. Selected fill, selected outline, selected label. Inverts. Are those like true false or what? None. That color. Okay, those are just setting the colors for when it's pressed. I think by default they go invert, which is what it's saying. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't give it a selected fill, but you did give it a regular fill, I don't actually even know what this is, honestly. Tilde operator? I don't know what tilde operator is, but this is basically taking the inverse. Like if you had green, you'll end up with pink, I think. Maybe. Like taking the opposite. Which we're not going to have a concept for that anymore. We're going to have a... param, let's go... Do I want to do path? I think so. BMP path. String. Man. And then we'll just do a selected. So you'll give it 2 bitmaps if you want to have a different visual look when it's being pressed. And I think that's all we need for right now. Yeah. We need to create body thing. I don't think we need this. necessarily. This does, oh, this extends group, not tile grid. I was thinking this extended tile grid. Do we want to extend group instead? Why do we extend group here? Oh, yeah, we need to be able to have the label, right, which is another object. So yeah, we do need to do group, actually, group. Because we need our tile grid, which will be our visual button. We also need our label, which will be our text. So those two things can go inside of a group, but we can't show both of them on only a tile grid. All right, so inside of a knit, we are gonna do this. This will create a group and put it at the XY coordinates that got passed to us. Also, I guess we should copy some of this stuff. I guess that is on its own line. There we go. Okay, so this creates a group, our self-instance group, and puts it at XY, which is what the user specified for the location. So now we make a tile grid. We make a button tile grid. Button.name is used in examples to identify the pressed button. I use it in a bunch of project code. Okay. Nice to have something different than label. That's fair. If you want, if you mentioned, I don't know, did you mention it on here? If you didn't mention it on the issue, go ahead and put it on the issue as well, and I'll close it. Because like if it is used, then we can definitely keep it. I did not look at the examples. But yeah. I mean, it's not taking up too much resources either. So I just was like, if it's unused, we could get rid of it. So we could add it here actually too. So why don't we do that? Name none, name none. And we're gonna need to import this. I don't think it's gonna find it. It did actually. It's, okay, it kinda did. Put this onto our group. And I think we should be able to start testing this already. Think? If not, we're certainly close. So one thing is I'll just make one. We don't need all 6. We don't need a background. We could keep variables. We can keep all of this. We don't really need it for our simplest test here, but so we go like this, and we're actually going to go button 0 equals sprite button x, and we'll basically just give it most of the same stuff here. But the width will be different. When will King, what is it? King Aquarius X, right? When will more Raspberry, I assume you mean Raspberry Pis, be available to purchase? I don't have an answer for you though. Yeah, so I work remote for Adafruit. I've never been to the factory. I don't have any insight into the stock or anything like that. I can say on like Ask an Engineer, maybe a week or two ago, when Lady Ada and Phil were hosting, I believe they mentioned that they are adding Raspberry Pis like almost weekly. I believe, again, like this is what I heard on a public show, so like you could go watch the VOD to double check. I don't have like a timestamp or anything for you, unfortunately, but I believe that they mentioned that. I will say the main thing that you want to do if you haven't done it already, sign up for an Adafruit account, log in, and turn on two-factor authentication, and then add the Raspberry Pi. If you go to the product page for it, do like a, I don't know what they call it, add to wish list or something, like notify me when it's in stock. There should be a button that's something like that, and do that. Do all of those things. If you don't have an account, make one, get signed in, set up two-factor. You have to do all of those things because you have to have an account and you have to have two-factor enabled to buy Raspberry Pis right now. So if you do that ahead of time, then you won't be scrambling to do it whenever the Pis are actually in stock. You could actually just go add one to your cart, check out, finish right away. Also, another thing you could do is if you add your payment method ahead of time, like if you go add your payment method now, even though you're not ready to buy something right now, then you can just select that payment method when you check out on the day that they actually do go into the store. And again, that's going to help you because you will be able to check out quickly. You won't have as much risk of other people buying all the ones that went in. So that would be my advice. I don't have a time frame for you, but if you go do those things, that's how you give yourself the best chance to get them. And again, all that information I got from PT and Lady Ada on, I think, Ask an Engineer a week or two ago. So that's where you can find more info if you want. I don't know why this does this weird thing here. Probably something to do with the way my project is. Oh, I didn't get rid of all of these. What's wrong with this? Oh. Yeah, that'll do it, huh? Yeah, for sure. Okay, and then I think this crashes because I have no bitmap path or something. No module. Inflate tile grid. So it does crash, but not for the reason I thought. Okay, so that means we did get inside of here. Yeah, we got inside of here. But this didn't work. So does this mean like this? Maybe? No. And did we copy this? Yeah. The right way to import a function. Module. I wish there was a good way to write unit tests for CircuitPython code, specifically display IO code. I will say I am not much of a test-driven developer. I've been, throughout the vast majority of my career, I've been like either solo or on a very small team of like 2 to 4 max. And I don't have, like, there's nobody in my management structure who understands or cares about code at all. So there is no manager like breathing down my neck telling me to make tests. And I did not learn programming testing first. I'm aware of testing and like how it works and what it does and why it's good. But it's not how I learned to code. And so I don't tend to do it probably as often as I should. And I don't have anybody who's like telling me I need to do it. So that doesn't help. I will say though, that would be awesome. The other thing I'll say is I've watched a couple of your streams, Tammy. And actually, some of the tests that you've written is kind of pretty eye-opening. Of like, I've watched the way that you do test first, and it's like, it does seem like a really cool way to go about it and to make sure that you're actually building the thing that you think you're building. So you've actually been kind of an inspiration to me on the testing front. Like, I've watched the way you do it and kind of been thinking about doing that a little bit more. Yeah, one thing I'll mention on the display IO front, I did have an idea one day for display IO tests. So we have this library bitmap saver. This can basically take screenshots. Whoops. This can basically take screenshots. So I did have like a vision one day of making a test that would do something with display IO, take a screenshot of it, and then compare it using PIL, Python imaging, compare it to a known good image for that library. That way, like, let's say something like the display text library, for instance, you could write a test that says, you know, here's what this label should look like down to the pixel. And then, you know, make a change to the library, run it again, get the screenshot of what it looks like, and then compare it to that other one, and have it fail if it changes. That's only one pretty narrow type of test to make sure things are still looking the same. And sometimes we actually do want to change the way something looks, like if it's bugged or whatever, right? If it looks wrong for some minor reason, then of course we want to fix it, and then it's going to look different. But I do think something like that could be possible. And it could run like on Raspberry Pis is probably the best place to do it using Blinka, but then it like introduces a new variable because Blinka is like a different display IO than the core. So there's definitely still challenges. But Summersoft has done a lot of good work on testing as well. There is what's the name of it? Rosie Pi? Is that the name of the project? Or is it named something different? There's like a whole framework that's built up around doing, I think, the Raspberry Pi, the Linux port running on the Raspberry Pi, not like the newer stuff that Scott worked on, and also not the Blinka stuff either that Melissa works on. Why are we not getting this import? I guess let's go to REPL a bit. Not bitmap savior. It is not the bitmap savior. Oh, interesting. We don't have any of the things. Huh. Module. Oh my goodness. Yep. That's what we just did. Yep. Mm-hmm. from this, import this. Yep. Yep. Always spell stuff the same name as you actually spelled it. That will help. It's a non-trivial problem, I think. Only way I've come up with is unit test CircuitPython specific stuff with a lot of mocking. Yeah. In the long range of thoughts, using CAM and PIL with an idea for display IO testing on PhysCI. PhysCI, Rosie PI. PhysCI was the other name I was thinking. Yeah. Pragmatic programmer. Savor to enjoy one's own pace. Oh, savor. Savor? Like savor something that's yummy? Gonna savor this cold brew? All right. So now the actual error we have is we need to give it either the path or the object in the palette. We're gonna go with the path. We're gonna go with target size equals tuple of width and height. That might be all we need. We should change width and height here though, because these are gonna be too big. Where are my images at? EMPs. Nope, that's not the one we want to use. Let's use this one, gradient button 0. This is 48 by 48, which means the tile sizes are 16? Yeah. So let's go like this for now. We don't have a margin. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I guess in that sense we do have a margin. We still have not actually passed BMP path. All right, there we go. Did not crash. We have our button. It's very small. So I think one thing I'll do is actually just make it bigger. That looks better. Let's make it wider even still. And also we want to chroma key the pink. We have pink in the corners. The corners are supposed to appear rounded, but right now they show pink. Let me catch up a bit. Haven't read Pragmatic yet. David Beasley. If you have a code base without unit tests, you can start by writing a test every time you work on a bug. Helps test that bug anyway. Yeah, I can. And I know I can, and I know it's helpful. But it's tough, basically, to get into that mindset. Because I've coded for so long without doing tests. And the few times I've brought up testing, like, people who are in charge of the priorities of my time kind of are like, why would you spend time working on tests when you could instead spend time working on features? and I don't have the patience to try to make them understand. So that's kind of where we're at. It should be 0 for the transparent index. Oh, so I do think we will, I guess, need to have this get passed to here as well. Transparent index none. Whoop, that's the wrong thing. I don't know why these are not aligned. There we go. So in our case, we're just doing a single transparent index and it's 0, but you can do a tuple here and have multiples if you need. Whoop, got rid of too many. Okay, transparent index 0, and then we need to pass it through as well. Can't click into that. Nice, there we go. There's our transparent. So now let me think for a second. I think we actually, do we want to, maybe we want to use the other ones actually. Maybe we don't. Well, maybe we take the path at the button layer, but we load it and then we pass the objects to the inflate function. Because we actually need our selected bitmap. We need that to be either a bitmap object or an on-disk bitmap object. Yeah. Which means we actually need more of this. Oh, but I don't think that works. All right, palette for this also. That is not none, then we fill these things. Oh, right, I see, yeah. There's probably some way we could get these on the same line, but I don't know how. There we go. Okay. So let's do the label. Which we can basically just lift. It's going to be the same. Oh, sorry. I left the chat scrolled. Audiobook sounds fun. Okay. Surprised it didn't create the label. I guess it did that in this thing. Nope. Ah, in the setter. So where does it append the label to the group? Right there. So why don't we not have any text right now? Should have this and 0. Well, let's look at the REPL. Okay, nothing useful in the REPL. Do these things get called? Yes and no. The first one does, but the one inside of here does not. Why though? Shouldn't this... Wouldn't this be calling this setter? Oh, I put this inside of a knit. That'll do it. There we go. Now I bet we get text. I don't know what color it is though, so we might not be able to see it very well. Oh, nope, SpriteButton has no attribute label. There's no attribute width. So width, yeah, actually this is quite a bit trickier. How do we want to do this? Because in the shape button, our height and width are exact pixels, but in this one, they're tiles. So this is the number of tiles times tile width. Number of tiles times tile height. Then here we would do this. And then we do need to set width and height, which I don't think we did. And then these, I guess, actually need to be like this. Or eventually we could make, well, yeah, I guess we could just make actual properties with height and width. And I'll make the setter later, because the setter logic is going to be different. It's not, it can't copy paste directly because it's going to have to be in tiles again. Yeah. Selected label. I think it was a color. Yeah. Part of me doesn't want to change this to be selected label color, because now it's not going to match, right? They're two different names for the same concept. But a bigger part of me thinks that this should have always been called selected label color, honestly, because it is the color, right? So I'm going to do it this way. If somebody prefers otherwise, then of course they could review and leave that feedback. I wonder if we should not invert by default too. Okay, so we got our button 0. Our label is showing now. Now, we need to make the touches work. Right now we have no touches. SpriteButton has no contains. I wasn't expecting it to crash, but I did not think it would work. Because we need to implement contains. Probably select it also. This is the function that actually checks if a touch point is inside the button or not. This probably still crashes because I guess the next thing it does is probably try to call like set selected to true. Oh no, it actually didn't. I'm surprised. And it even knows it got pressed. Interesting. Oh, I see. Okay, it's like making a variable called selected on the object and setting it to true false. It's not having any effect because we haven't actually coded it yet, but it doesn't cause it to crash because it doesn't care that it doesn't exist. It just creates it. We will make it though. All right. We're not doing fills and outlines. This is actually color. Color. No fills and outlines. We don't have body. And then the other thing we want to do is self.button tilegrid bitmap equals self.selected bitmap, and also pixel shader palette. Now I think our button will actually change colors. Oh, but I didn't actually pass one, so no, it still won't. Does it crash though? Curious if it crashes. Oh, it crashed before it ran. Has no selected. Probably we just need to make that true or false. Still crashes. 145? Probably we should change the name of this, honestly, because we have button. Oh, no, we don't. We have bitmap. Okay. Yeah, no, this is fine. If this is not none, then we're going to do this. Oh, there we go. So our text changed to white when we pressed, which is kind of a nice effect. Actually, I do like it. The bitmap didn't change, because that's because we didn't actually pass it. So we just go here. Boom. I already have another one of these called 1. Boom. There we go. Oh. Didn't go back, though. Didn't go back. And also the transparent, we still need to do. So let's go inside here. If it's not none, if is instance tuple for index in this selected palette dot make transparent index. Elif is instance transparent int that should do the transparency, but I think it's still not going to change back. Yeah, we got transparency now, but the font color changes back, but the background doesn't. So why is that? Selected. Ah, yeah. I think the easiest thing is we just take this and put it in here. And then here we go basically back to the non-selected ones. Also, I will mention the way that I'm changing the bitmap like this. This is not in CircuitPython yet. I have a PR open for it, but it's not merged yet. Ask Patrick, showing up late as always. Day job getting in the way of fun stuff. I'll have to watch a recorded show. Thanks to my guy for the cookie cutter. Yeah, for sure. Thank you as well for helping out with the white space and all the stuff that you did. So yeah, definitely appreciate it. Bitmap, and then this is bitmap palette. Now it should change back. Yeah. Oh, but the transparent. Weird. So is that only after the first press that the transparency stops working? Yeah, it is, because right now we have no corners. Press down, we still have no corners. Lift up, now we have corners all of a sudden. Did I change it to the wrong thing? Maybe I changed it to the wrong thing. No? Oh. Yeah, I know what the problem is. We need this to be object. Basically, we're inflate tile grid is, because we passed a path, it's loading it internally. Therefore, it's holding its palette internally. It was setting its transparency index on that palette. But when we changed back, we were no longer using that palette. I don't know, actually. Is there a way to get the palette back out? I don't think. It just returns tile grid. Palette. Yeah, we should probably make a way to get the palette back out of this function. Maybe I'll get rid of path altogether, honestly. It's nice, but it does make it trickier. And if we just used bitmap object and bitmap palette both, then you can always use either on-disk bitmap or regular bitmap, and we don't have to mess with transparent indexes at all. You could do that externally. And we wouldn't have this problem. Yeah, I think I probably lean that direction. For now, though, we can just fix it here by doing both of these instead. There we go. All right, so there's our button, super fancy button, gradients. Again, this is something you can't do today with the existing shape button. So we have two different gradients that it changes between. The color of the font changes also. We're looking pretty good here. What else do we have inside button that we don't currently have in SpriteButton? I'm going to take a quick look over. I think I'm going to be wrapping up here pretty soon as well. If anybody has questions or comments or anything, I would say get them in now in one of the two chats. So we did selected. Let's do here, let's say selected true, b.label equals pressed, b.label equals button 0. Make sure this works how it is supposed to. Yeah. Oh, the color didn't change. Oh, and it doesn't change back, actually. Oh, right. Oh, no, we have this already. You change the label? Does it break the color? We don't need this really. If underscore label and self and oh. So for one thing, this is throwing away the old label. And then always creating a new one? Honestly, this was probably done this way because in the past, labels had a limit on the number of characters. If you created a label with a certain number of characters initially, you couldn't just add more to it. You couldn't set it to a new string with more characters in it. That was just a restriction. That's probably why this was done. So they threw away the original label, created a new one with the new string. That way they don't have to worry about if the text increases, it causing trouble. But we actually don't need that anymore. You can now just set the label to a bigger amount. But this is also where it gets created initially. All right, yeah, I don't want to refactor that much of it right now. Let's just see though, why does the color not work? Because it should still work with the color. So we create a new one. Okay, so the reason the color's not working is here we are setting the text and then it's setting the color equal to the label color, not caring about the selected label color. think that should make it stay, should make it respect the selected color if it's actually selected. Yeah. Oh, but it doesn't, still doesn't switch back. That's actually, I know why that is. That's because this is not actually where it changes. This is actually where it changes. This wouldn't work also if we had multiple buttons, but that's fine. Mostly I just want to test that. There we go. Okay, white pressed, back to black, button 0. There we go. Nice. Okay. And so my sprite sheets for this, I don't know if I opened them before, but my sprite sheets are this one and this one. They're both 48 by 48. It is important they have to be the same size. They both have the 0th index. The 0th color in the palette is the color that wants to be chroma keyed. So on this one I used green since there's like actual pinks inside the button. And on this one I used pink because pink is more typically used as the transparent color for sprites. But it doesn't actually matter, right? Mostly what we care about is the index. In both cases, the color we want to cut out is index 0. So these are my two sprites. That tile grid inflator, that's what's responsible for making this, bigger, right? These are both square, 48 by 48. The actual size on the screen is much, much bigger. So that inflator is taking care of making it bigger. And then when we select it, it's changing the bitmap to the other one, and also changing the label and the color and all this stuff. So also I will say too, my calibration is not great. So if you notice I'm kind of touching above the button a little bit, that's just because I need to calibrate my touchscreen and I haven't done it yet. All right, so we got the start of this. I think what I'm going to do is just grab my code here, SpriteButton, paste this back over here, overwrite because this one's empty, and I don't know as though I'm ready to push it yet. I suspect we're going to fail pre-commit probably. Yeah. Right. If we want to get fancy, I guess we could make a button base, and then we could have these two extend button base, and we could try to like cut down on the amount of code duplication, because like the labels behave the same. Like it's what it's telling us right here, basically like similar lines in two files. All this code here is basically just copy pasted in the two files. If we made a base class, then the base class could have this shared code and the other classes wouldn't need it. We would avoid a little bit of duplication. Same thing for the selected property. Actually, that's not entirely true, though, for the selected property because we have different behavior, right? In one of them, we're rebuilding the body, different colors or something like that. And this one, we're changing the bitmap. That would actually be a lot harder to refactor out. Initializer as well, I guess we could. I don't really like to do the base with the initializer because then the arguments aren't on the final object. Like if you're looking for it in the code, you don't know what all the arguments are because a bunch of them get carried into the star. So yeah, I don't know. We will, I'll need to I'll need to decide what I'm going to do about that. There's also a couple other pilot failures as well, but I think I'm going to call it for now. Paul, time to go to bed here. Thank you, Tim. Yeah, for sure. Thank you for watching. Have a nice weekend to you as well. Johnny, how's it going? Yeah, so thank you to everybody for watching. I hope this was interesting, insightful, entertaining, whatever you want to get out of it. I hope you had a nice time watching. I will be back tomorrow morning. Yeah, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time. Sorry, I don't know all the other time zones, but if you look up 10 a.m. Central Time in whatever time zone you're in, I'll be streaming tomorrow morning. I will be on my own account instead of Adafruit's, but what you can do is if you just go to the live broadcast chat in the Discord, I'll drop a link when I get started, and you can follow through that way. And beyond that, I'll be back next week for a deep dive. Small programming note, next Saturday. So I just said that I stream Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. and I will be streaming tomorrow at 10 a.m., but I will not be streaming the following Saturday. I'm taking next Saturday off. I have some other plans. So the 30th of April, Saturday, next Saturday, 8 days from today, I will not be streaming, but I'll be back the following Saturday. So yeah, that's where you can watch. Thank you again to everybody who watched, and I will catch you all next time. Yeah, thanks to C. Grover, Ask Patrick W, and everybody else. I hope everybody has a good night, good weekend, and everything else.